Alright, welcome back to Aaron's 1972 Datsun 510, and today we're going to play a little guitar. I got my Fender right here. Kidding, of course. We're going to put this Fender on this car. Let's get to it. Alright, to explain sort of what we're going to be doing is I have this piece right here, right, that comes up, and I've sort of drawn the line of where I think I'm going to cut out. I actually am planning on coming up to about here, to maybe here, and then sort of bringing it across, and then up underneath here, so that way I can hide. I only have this much to sort of get sort of just right before having to do a whole bunch of other stuff. I would take out the rear window, but gosh, I'm so afraid that I'm going to break this rear window if I try to take it out, and that's going to be a ton more work to do that. So I'm just like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take it out. I'm going to cover it, tape it off, right, and make for sure that to keep the heat out of this area so I don't break the window. Knock on wood. But I'm going to cut along here, mount the new Fender up, and sort of tack weld it in place to all the different locations. So that's what I'm going to work on. So hopefully it goes well. So again, we're going to sort of cut this, drill out these spot welds, sort of place it under here, bring it back down and around to here is what the plan is. So we'll go ahead and do some test fits and try to figure out exactly how we're going to, the path that we're going to take. I thought about right here and then across. It's either right there or right here. I haven't fully decided. Anyway, I'm gonna take a look at that and then I'll let you know. So I had the camera pointed in the exact wrong direction, so you literally couldn't see any of it. I took the wire wheel out and ground down. I forgot. I've read about it before. I just had never seen it. This was all filled with lead solder. I don't want to get into this area, so I've sort of marked out here where I think I'm going to cut. So I'm going to cut at the arch here, bring it down, and then up, and somewhere around here, tack weld it back there. And then that gives me this much space that I'm going to have to like sand down and clean up. I'm trying to keep it away from these lines here as well as this line up here. And then I'll have to cut a little piece out right here as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that out with the angle grinder. And then I'm going to lay it over where it goes. And then draw a line on the back one and actually sort of use the angle grinder to cut away the new lines for this, so that way they match up really well. Alright, so in my short little videos between each of the time lapses, I do a fairly good job of explaining what I'm doing, but I'm using the 4.5-inch angle grinder to use a cutoff wheel to cut off the pieces that I will not be putting on the car. I did this quite a bit for all the other pieces, but on this one I actually tried to minimize this cut, and I think that really helped. One, it gave my Fender a complete large amount of metal that was going to be replaced, as well as made it where the weld lines were much less visible. Once I get the trimming done, I go ahead and start bending out the lips, such as the front lip that had to cover the front part of the Fender into the door area. This allowed me to slide the Fender on and off, and I can just bend that back with a punch, which I do later in this video. But again, I keep taking the Fender on and off, just making for sure that it fits snug and that each of the pieces works well together. I also had to cut a small gap there in the wheel arch to allow the Fender to slide through, and then I ended up welding it on. So looking at this Fender, I've marked out the lines where I'm going to be welding. This, I believe, will drop back a little bit more based on this piece going behind. I've marked sort of here. I'm going to cut on the outside, right, the other side of the lines where the arrow's pointing, to give myself a little bit of extra space there. But I've got this, and just like on the other side, this spot really doesn't look super great, but it'll blend in, and then these will pull in, and we will get them welded in. So before I move to the next step, I will take the fender off. I will then, clean off the back side of each of these surfaces, spray on the weld-through primer, and right there, right down here, over on this inside lip as well, just to get them ready to go. The inside lip of this, and I'll actually have to hammer this whole thing back out to smooth it and attach it to this other fender. I knew that as I was hammering on it, but there's the new fender. It looks pretty good sitting there. Now we got to do is get it welded in, which is a lot more steps. This little section of the car is actually sort of weird. It's like 2 or 3 different pieces all welded together, and so I got the outer spot welds taken off and then realized there was also additional inner spot welds, so I had to take those off as well. Using the 4.5-inch angle grinder with a cutoff wheel, I took off small chunks to ensure that I could get in there, being careful not to accidentally cut into something that I didn't want to cut into, which I got sort of close. Once I got that done, I actually bent up this piece that goes on the fender vent, and I bent it up so it's out of the way, and then I will bend it down later and weld it to the new piece. Those of you that are probably worried that I'm using a hammer right now, understand that it was a rubber mallet, and I'm tapping ever so lightly just to try to massage it into place, not necessarily to bend it, just to get it to slide over some of the more rough pieces. Now that I've done all that, I go ahead and clean off all of the surfaces here that are going to be flat welded to another piece, so I can put some weld-through primer on them. Using the wire wheel on this, making sure to also clean the old metal on the car itself. I've got the weld-through primer on the car. I have sort of got the fender adjusted the way that I want to have it adjusted. So now I'm going to go ahead and slip it on, and then start seeing about tacking it in place. I might take it off 1 or 2 more times before I actually weld it on. Just trying to get it to the spot where it needs to be. I also just realized that I did that right. I'm going to try to spot weld again. I haven't had a lot of luck spot welding the past few tries, but the other side I was actually able to spot weld, and it worked out pretty well. We'll go ahead and try to do that again this time and see how it goes. Just a lot of minor fitting adjustments through this portion, making for sure that the front lines up well so I can attach to the car, and then along this upper section. I felt like the best place to do my first weld was here along the line that you see up near the front of the trunk, but I have to make for sure that all the other pieces are fitting very well before I do this. Now that I'm watching this, I think maybe I probably should have got out a door and actually test fit a door to see whether or not that made any kind of difference, but trust me, it's way too late in the game to fix this now. Now that I've got it largely in place, I can use the punch to flatten back out this flange so I can then tack weld it into place along that front door arch as well. Boom, and just like that, the fender's on. I can go ahead and walk away. I've now welded it on. It's about as good as the last one was. Intermission. Let's all go to the snack bar. Let's all go to the snack bar. Let's all go to the snack bar and get us something to eat. Okay, back to work.
If you look closely, you can actually see the piece of metal that is bent up. I had to put a rag back there to ensure that I didn't start a fire inside the pillar, because that would suck and I would have been very upset. So I stuffed that wet rag in there to ensure that I didn't have any flames or sparks going up onto the inner part of that pillar. Pro tip.
As you can see, I've got these plug welded here, a little bit of weld here, up to this inner piece. Now I'm just trying to get this smooth. And if you look right, hi Danielle. If you look down the car, you can just sort of see, still got a little bit of work up here to do to get it. There's a little bit of a wave there, but this back section looks pretty good. So I'll go ahead and tack here and like a couple of spots here, and then work on the front section a little bit more. But it's looking good. A little bit more of a gap there than I wanted, but a little wave there. I think this is going to look a lot better than the other side. Not that the other side looks bad. Keep moving forward.
Like I said in the previous part of the video, I just go ahead and start tapping and smoothing out this piece. During this portion, I use the grinder to smooth this weld, and I go a little bit too aggressive and end up pushing through and burning through the metal, which you'll see. So I end up putting a piece of metal behind it, sort of heat soak and re-weld it. I also didn't do a good job of being super careful with my grinder, and that actually had me biting into that Fender line. That's why you see me put tape over here in a second or two. Always make for sure to be very careful. I actually found that in the coming weeks that the finger grinder actually does a really good job. You just have to really know how to use it, and I wasn't using it correctly whenever I first started using it. Now that I've figured it out, it's actually worked out much better. You can see these little nicks along. Was not an intelligent move on my part. I'm sort of frustrated with myself, but a little bit of Bondo will fix it. Hey guys, not a lot of voiceover today. I feel like the work is fairly self-explanatory, and the video pieces between are also doing a good job of explaining it. I do want to say that I've really enjoyed these, and I have a ton of videos to come on this car, so just keep on watching. And if you like what you see, go ahead in the bottom right hand side of your screen, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. That way I'm on a quest to try to get up to 1,000 subscribers, so that would really help me. I appreciate you watching. This is one of my longer videos. I've been trying to keep them to about 10 minutes, but this one didn't have a good place to just sort of break it up. I'll just go ahead and give you a hint. None of these work, which is really frustrating. I was able to pop them right off with a screwdriver. So I don't know whether I just don't know how to do this or what it is, but you see me drilling some holes in there so I can then plug weld the fender into place. Once I've done that, I go ahead and move on to the back portion of the fender and get that installed on the car as well, tying this fender onto the rear panel piece itself.
Trying to think of what I want to say. Should have thought about that before I started recording. Well, the fender is now installed on the car. I attempted to do spot welds here, as you saw. They failed, every single one of them. Popped right whenever I gave a little pressure with the screwdriver. So I didn't even attempt to do spot welds here along the back panel. But the back panel, from what I remember on the other side, this side went on a lot smoother. Still need to do maybe a little bit of hammer and dolly, sort of smooth out that transition back here. This bottom portion is attached. This is got a little bit of a gap here and not like welded to each other, but it is welded along the back. The fender went on pretty well. I can see a little bit of a line on this upper portion, but I think a tiny bit of Bondo, like sort of to smooth out that transition right there, will be pretty reasonable, and it's much less than what was on the car. And I got a Bondo that spot anyway, just to get rid of the where the lead filler was. I'm not gonna put lead filler back in the car. So, but all in all, a very short run of welds that is going to be visible for the most part. Although I did just notice that I must have, whenever I was clamping, got a nice ding right here on the fender, on my new fender. That's really nice. So try to fix that. But anyway, the fender is in place, and I'm very happy with the way it looks and how snug and secure it is. If you like to see, go ahead and comment, like, subscribe. YouTube's got some videos all around you that are showing hopefully my different videos. If maybe you want to watch some different ones. GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording. Let's try that again.